Boom.
Mine's up, dude.
We're back.
Hey.
Welcome back to episode 93, Curious Radio.
Woo.
We got Katya Martín in with us today. What's going on? Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, just to give a little context, I worked on this show, Promised Land. It's on formerly ABC, now on Hulu. Right? Am I getting that right?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's correct.
And it was just cool. I did a few episodes, like 2-3 episodes. But I got to meet some of the people on there, and it was just kind of, we had a good time.
We did.
And I was like, you should come on the podcast sometime. And now that, you're about to leave back to New York, we got some time in to do this. So first, congrats on the show.
Oh, thank
Super
you.
dope. It's your first series, right?
It's
Like,
my first series regular, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I want to start. I always like to get my little backstory up. You were born in Spain, and you moved to New York?
I moved to New York at 17, but sure. And I was actually born in California.
I see.
My mom's American and my dad's Spanish.
Okay.
So we left San Diego when I was pretty little.
So that's your nationality. Okay, I see.
I
see.
have both.
Yeah.
I have Spanish and U.S. passport, which is
Okay, cool.
dope.
I don't know where I read that.
I think it's you're not incorrect in having read that. It is somewhere
Okay, cool.
incorrectly.
Okay.
That wasn't your research.
Yeah.
You were malinformed.
But did you start performing from a young age, or what was your whole?
Yeah, I grew up in Spain, and I really
that's what it is.
I
Okay.
loved movies, and I loved
So you went out there at what age?
to Spain.
Yeah.
We lived there permanently since I was 6 to 13.
Oh, okay.
And then
cool.
I went to high school in
Beautiful.
the States.
What was that like?
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved growing up there.
Yeah.
It was a culture shock moving back
yeah.
to the U.S.
Just because of the pace, or what do you mean?
It was. I think.
It's a little more leisurely lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean it was also. I think there's so much community and kind of proximity in Spain.
Yeah.
I mean, in a similar way to I think a lot of Latin cultures.
Yep,
It's just
yep.
the sense of family and community. It's just
Yeah.
there on the streets,
Mhm.
versus California, where all of a sudden I was like, oh, all the new friends I'm meeting are 20 minutes away by car,
Yep.
and I'm also the new girl,
Mhm,
and everything's kind of moving in a different way.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I always look at it like Europeans. They live a different lifestyle, and it's but it's also. I don't know if I didn't think it was strictly European, because you're right. Latin countries is like that too. I think it's just almost like an American thing. We almost and I think it has to do with the pace in which we move here. We move at a pace that almost even if you do have family that's close, you don't even see them. You know what I mean? 20 minutes away. And you're like, I have a cousin, he lives over there, and I have an aunt that lives over there. You never see him.
I gotta get in the car to go see them and
You know?
actually plan it out. Yeah.
And then I have family from El Salvador, and we'll go, and people will be like, I drove an hour to come see you or whatever, just because we knew you were in town. People don't do that here.
Yeah.
So you grew up out there, and did you get into the arts out there, or what was your
A little bit. I always wanted to. There weren't really many things going on for kids. So I grew up in Valencia, which is kind of on the East Coast.
She got the TH. Valencia, say it?
Valencia.
Yeah, she was doing it.
I can say Valencia if you.
Yeah. No. It's great. Keep it.
I got rid of it for the show, though. Did you know?
Yeah. No, I did notice. Yeah.
But yeah, so I always really wanted to, and I was actually really excited when my parents told me we were moving to California, because I was like, yes,
Cool.
I'm gonna be able to act. I'm gonna be able to go to Hollywood.
Why were they moving? You were just moving just to.
Yeah, it was funny. My dad, who's the Spaniard, wanted to move back to the United States, and my mom, who's the American, wanted to stay in Spain. But I think ultimately it was I was about to start high school. If we were going to move, we should probably move around then. And it was around 2008, so the economy in Spain really sucked.
Yeah,
and
everywhere,
jobs
really.
and stuff were just and so they just decided, okay, it's the right time. Let's just pack up. And we also, my dad's family's mostly in Madrid, and so even though we were living in Spain, we were living in a city
How far is that?
It's maybe 4-hour drive.
Oh, okay,
from,
that's a little bit.
So it's not close.
Yeah.
So we were living in a city that, we had a really awesome community of friends and our life there, but we didn't have family close or anything. And so at least if we moved back to San Diego, my mom's whole family lived there.
Oh, so you guys moved to San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a great area. There's a lot of Spanish-speaking people out there too, actually.
Yeah, no, it was, I like it now that I don't live there. I think it was just the pace of it, the laid backness didn't quite jive with me.
You think it's more laid back than Spain?
Not necessarily, but it's more spread out.
Oh, okay, I see.
You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
everything's
like La Jolla, and then you got what's the other one's called?
like there's South Park, there's Hillcrest, downtown,
Barrio Logan.
Barrio Logan. My aunt lives in Barrio Logan. My cousins live there. Yeah.
It's kind of like L.A. It's kind of like L.A.
Yeah, it's
where
slightly
like the
smaller.
Valley, the West Side, Hollywood.
Yeah.
You know. So you graduated high school out there.
Yeah.
And were you doing anything in high school or?
I did plays, and I started doing like kind of local commercials, and I got an agent actually while I was in high school up in LA, and I would drive up like for auditions and stuff like that.
Really cool. How'd you get your agent?
I did a workshop, this like acting workshop, and
it works sometimes, kids.
Yeah,
it works sometimes. Most of the time though, it doesn't. I feel like a lot of times, like I was in my 20s when I got into like acting and everything. Music was my first love, but there's a lot of shit that get people out there. Do this workshop. We'll make you this. And if it sounds too good to be true, usually it is, right?
Yeah, it's actually, that's partially true, but not entirely true. I got a local San Diego agent first, and that one I got from a workshop.
Okay.
The LA agent I got because I started sending my headshot and resume.
Oh, wow.
Like paper form with like a little note.
What year was this?
I was maybe 15.
Okay,
so this
it's a
was
long time ago,
like
yeah.
2014.
Yeah. Oh, it's not that long ago, actually. It's crazy.
It like feels like so long ago.
Yeah. 2014, I was like 25.
No, you were not.
Yes, I was. Yeah.
How old are you?
2014, I'm 33. I'm going to be 34 in this year. I wear it well.
Yeah, no, I thought you were younger.
Yeah. No, I got a young spirit and an old soul.
Great. No,
yeah.
you look great.
Yeah. So.
So I graduated in 20. Wait, I'm sorry. No, I'm getting my years confused with high school. This is not 2014 at all. I went to college in 2012, so this was like 2010.
Okay.
I was thinking sophomore in college, but it was
still.
high school.
I was 22. I graduated high school in 06. Now it sounds crazy. This shit was 15 years ago or something crazy. I'm like, I'm an adult now.
In August, I'll have lived in New York for 11 years, which sounds insane to me.
Your family still in San Diego?
Yeah, half of them. And then my dad's family is still in Spain.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's crazy because so many people try that. I never really suggest it.
Oh,
and it doesn't really work.
I honestly wouldn't suggest it to anyone.
It's crazy
I don't know
that
how it worked for me. You know, something crazy too. This is like, I think it only worked because I was naive enough to not think about it,
It's more energetic than anything else. I feel
yeah.
like what you feel like is possible.
Yeah.
The universe conspires to make it happen
yeah,
for you,
it just did it. And I Googled, like, what is the top acting agency in Los Angeles? And, of course, CAA, UTA, all of those. And I was like, CAA looks great.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one I want. And I sent one to them. And obviously, they were not one of the ones that called me.
That would have been so crazy.
But I don't know how I found I was going through like an old hard drive or something, and I found a folder that was like letters to agencies. And it was like, Dear Agent at CAA, my name is Katya Martín, and I am an actress. I'm 14 years old currently.
It works, man. That young naivety, I like. Is that a word? Naivety? Being naive, being that naive, like that shit really works wonders. Like even now, when you look at it, if I see it, like I'm sure you too. Like if you see a young person with that much confidence, it's almost like fuck yeah, like go you. You know what I mean? Like and it's not being scared to like claim out what you really want and what you're really after. Even if you're not necessarily ready for it, people are usually going to be more willing to help you and be like, well, listen, you're crazy, kid. This is CAA, but maybe we can push you over here to the side, because I had a similar like way into an agency. It was a school or whatever, and they had like workshops where people would come in, and somebody was like, I'm not gonna rep you, but I know somebody who will, and that usually works. So you started auditioning like in high school and stuff, and
and doing like like student films for like SDSU and stuff like that, and
it's great practice.
Yeah, it was a great intro, but I didn't really start acting until I moved to New York. That was
and what triggered that? You went to school out there?
Yeah. I went to NYU.
Okay,
but
cool.
I studied media communications and film producing, but and not acting. I studied acting kind of taking classes outside of school and stuff like that. Yeah.
So same. I don't know if, I'm not a theater. People get their BFAs and stuff. But I did see that you direct and you develop content and you do all that stuff. So that was your main avenue at first, at least when you were going to college?
It was like what I was studying. Yeah, I always I wanted to act.
Oh, I
always was like, I want to act, I want to act, I want to act. But I knew I didn't want to study that in school because from the people that I knew who were older than me who were in those sorts of curriculums, they weren't allowed to audition while they were
Why not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is that still a thing?
I think so. I think for the most part, like those kind of like 2 to 4 year conservatories, it's like you're in school, you got to learn, and maybe that works for some people. But I felt like for me,
stupid.
I just felt like I needed to like, I needed to learn from experience and like get out there and.
I think, man, honestly, like that's kind of so backwards to me because if I think of it, like. Whenever you get into, at least this is my own personal experience. When I got into the game, I was naive and I didn't really, and because of that, I booked my first couple auditions. Because I was just like, "What are we doing? Huh? Stand right here," and then you just do it. It's not until you get into your head that you start being all fucking weird in the room, and people are like, "What's up with her? She's walking weird." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're so in your head, and I feel like if you spend 2 to 3, 4 years at a conservatory, you're gonna be so in your head by the time you get to audition.
Yeah.
That you're probably going to be run out of confidence. You know what I mean? Like, so that for me, that approach, I don't know if that's the right approach, you know?
Yeah, I at least knew that it wasn't for me. And
for me, it doesn't either.
And I think it's been really helpful actually getting to study from so many different teachers. And it sounds kind of woo-woo or whatever, but like I really do believe that like the teacher comes when the student's ready. Like
100%.
I've had so many coaches 100%. That just happened to fall into my life exactly when I needed their form of teaching.
Yeah.
You know, and they were just able to unlock something that I wouldn't have been ready to unlock a year prior.
And it's almost like cycles too. It's weird. Like you grow. I had this really beautiful teacher that she just, she came into my life and it was like a super intense year with her. And it's like what you said. It's like, I was at a crossroads in my career. I was questioning everything. I was like, what am I doing? I feel so unnatural. I'm feeling like myself. And then boom, she pops in, changes my life. And then our ways parted. And I'm like, whoa, it's, not like it's permanent, but it's just like, it's just what I needed at the time. Right now I'm good. I might go back. I don't know. I might do something else. But it's just like, so when you were there producing, what did you focus? You were just, what was your thought process doing that?
I started writing and producing because I was honestly just really frustrated with like the roles that I was being offered for auditioning for auditions.
What was happening there?
It was a lot of I feel like I've always kind of had this like weird yes but no kind of disconnect. Like when I was in high school, I would audition for a lot of like Disney Channel roles that I never felt like I could do that kind. Like I don't know, I felt a little too old for those mentally. Like I've always been kind of an old soul, but then I was too young to play like the actual 19-year-olds because I looked really young, even though I was 18.
You're like, I can play teen, but I don't want to play teeny boppy. Like, hey, this is Disney Channel. It felt very Barney-ish almost.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, and then once I moved to New York, I still looked pretty young. But I
look really young. When you are young, so that happens.
You know what?
With
so
being
funny?
young.
When I booked Promised Land, one of my friends was like, I booked a role on a pilot, and she was like, how old is the role? And I was like, early 20s, baby.
Yeah.
Like I graduated to early 20s.
Hell yeah.
No longer the teenager.
Honestly, like, and I always say this with story. I'm like, you just tell the audience what it is, and they're like, okay.
Yeah, they're like, they're
you
fine.
know what I mean? This guy's 50. He might be 80.
If
but
they can
like,
slap braces on Margot Robbie and say that she's 15.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, the audience will follow it if it makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, I started writing because
What do you have to write? Do you still do that?
I do still write. Yeah.
What's like? What do you? I don't know if your style's changed, but like, what do you like to write, or what's your style, or what is your?
I think it's just kind of comes with like the story that I want to tell, and maybe that sounds like really broad and cheesy. But
I'm just saying, are you doing a lot of drama? Are you doing like?
Right now, I have one project that my good friend and writing partner and I are writing together, and it's like a historical drama piece or historical fiction piece. And then I'm also adapting a short film that I made into a feature film, and it's kind of more of a romantic comedy.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, so it kind of bounces back and forth.
That's the hardest part, man. I got a million and 5 ideas. You know what I mean? And just sitting down and like writing this shit out and organizing it, like that's the most tedious part. You know? Do you think like school helped you with that? Develop that? You know what I mean? Like,
I've always been good at school. I think that was another thing.
That's my problem.
I was really good at school. Like, maybe it was because like Spanish school systems, man, like those things they're brutal though. Like when I was in 4th grade, I had like 12 subjects that I was taking. You know, like
fourth grade? Would you say?
You don't have electives, so you have like I had like 12 subjects, and like so much homework, and so much of it is more just like rote memorization and really and stuff like that. So like, they kind of
you know what's crazy? I didn't even think about this. You spoke English out there, obviously, right?
My mom would speak to me in English. So like my mom would speak to me and my brother in English and make us read in English and
okay,
and
because you don't really have an accent. I'm sure people who learn English from over there. But you learned English here first, right? Then moved out there.
Yeah, so I've always kind of had both.
That's great. Yeah. It's great for you. Yeah, especially for commercials too. Mm-hmm. You know, did you book a lot of commercials doing that at all?
I did some commercials.
It's my bread and butter. I love that shit. And I'm like, bring them.
I've had like a weird relationship with commercials. I feel like I've like gone through phases where I'm like, book 3 in a row, and then I don't book anything for like 4 years.
Yeah, damn.
In terms of commercials, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, here's another one, here's another one, here's another one, and then silence.
It's the same thing though. Like they come into your life when you need it. I'm like, oh, thank God, this money is great.
Oh yeah.
You know,
when I booked my first regional commercial, those residuals, man, saved my life. Yeah, saved my life.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. I did this. This is crazy. The Scientologists, they used to like hire people, right?
Oh yeah.
They still do. They still do. I'm sure they do.
They have a whole like TV channel.
Oh, I've been there so many times. So, like, I know
You're
them.
Like the poster boy for Scientology.
Not even kidding. So check this out. So I'm pretty sure I have told the story. I used to work with them. I didn't know anything about anything. I would self-submit. This is I don't know, 8-9 years ago. I would self-submit on LA Casting or whatever. It's like LA Casting is like a casting billboard, and you can like submit, and you got your headshots and your resume and all your shit on there. And it's a service you pay for, and you can submit, and your agent submits you through there. Anyway, I was self-submitting on this, and they paid great, right? If you're like a broke actor starting out, you're doing like extra work, you can't figure it out, and they're like, yo, we'll pay you $200 a day. We'll pay you for your gas. If you bring somebody, we'll pay their gas for you. So I'm like, yo, I'm bringing like 4 people. I'd load my car up, and because it's 2.5 hours away.
Oh wow.
Drive out there, and it's crazy. It's a compound. It's called Golden Era Productions. There's like guards there with like guns and shit, and you like wait, and then they escort you. It's a castle, literally a castle with like a fountain in front. I'm like, they all live there. They're all wearing the same shit, right? They're there 24/7. They work 18 hours a day. It's super culty, you know. Where I'm like, well, I worked for them for years, and one time we did a photo shoot in San Diego actually. And they paid me for my session, and they were just like, yo, if we use this, we'll let you know. If we don't, we're just going to pay you for the session. So it was like $500. I was like, great, whatever. Like a year later, or maybe a year later, there's a billboard on Hollywood Boulevard with a bunch of faces about Scientology, and I'm one of the people on there. Like, I got a check for it, and I was like, oh my God, I need this check. I didn't know what the check was for. I was like, what? I don't even know what this is.
Money.
And then everybody starts hitting me up like, yo, dude, are you a Scientologist? I'm like, yeah, about that. It's crazy.
They pay really well.
Yeah, I signed my soul over. Sorry, I was starving.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because like everybody has their own approach and how you have to survive. What did you do to survive? Like, were you auditioning in college because of that? Yeah, right.
Yeah. I had so my agent. Wait, how did it work? Oh no, there was an agent in New York that one of my coaches knew, and he set me up with a meeting with her. Beautiful. So she was representing me the first few years I was there. And so I started auditioning kind of pretty much off the bat, but I was a nanny and a hostess, and I eventually became a bartender and a waiter. I made all my classes be in the morning so that I could like audition in the afternoons, and then I worked at restaurants at night. And then like I would nanny on the weekends.
Hustling.
Oh
hard.
Yeah. I've had so many side jobs, dude. I worked as an event planner's assistant. I was a translator.
Nice.
I've done
That's a good gig.
Like
translator. It's perfect for you.
Yeah. What else? I've mostly like events and not catering per se, but it was like more just like
event planning.
Event planning.
Yeah.
and
That's really what it is, man.
Restaurants.
Like, every actor I know has had like 30 odd jobs.
I've
or
walked
whatever.
dogs.
Yeah,
I've been a personal assistant.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's like if you look at New York, A Journey in New York as a movie, you're like walking dogs in Central Park and shit.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is a total movie.
Oh,
I see
yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, nannying and probably you know I don't know doing crazy shit, hostessing.
Personal
you know?
assistant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there's other ones. I'm just not thinking of them
For
right
sure.
now.
So you were auditioning through there, and I'm sure. So that's what I'm getting towards. Like, what was your journey like in that? Were you booking? Was it like?
It was like a little stop and start. My first couple jobs were very like commercials, some industrial videos, short films. I went through a spurt where I did like 4 music videos in a row.
Yeah.
And then I booked my first feature film that I booked the lead in.
Beautiful.
And that was like my first, that's what gave me my SAG card, because I'd done like 2 little SAG commercials.
Yeah, yeah.
And then from there,
This is crazy. You know, I didn't really celebrate my SAG card either. Like, same thing happened to me. I booked my first lead in the feature, and I was a must join. And they're like, dude, you gotta.
Yeah, it was the same. I was a must try. I basically, like, my salary from the indie film paid for my initiation fee.
Same.
I remember talking to my mom about it, and I was like, so I'm not really making any money. She's like, but you're not losing money.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, well. Yes, that is true. Okay. That is true. Yes, thank you, mother.
And you had to join it eventually.
And I had to join.
And honestly, it changes everything.
I'm not gonna lie, I was really excited. I felt like I am a legit actor now. I'm a legit actor.
It's legit, and not only that, but you get a pension. If you're making money, you get a pension. You get your health insurance, your vision, your dental.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it really protects you. Like I've taken advantage of it. Not as much maybe as I should. But so you got your SAG card through that, because I'm always like, you know, was there ever a dark period for you that it was just like skirt, where you're like, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing here?
Mine came kind of later. Like after that, I had like, so around that time, like I was also like starting to write, starting to like do a couple short films that I'd like written and produced, and then. And
you're just using your network from like college.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I was. Pretty much, yeah. Like my first short film, like it was just like my dad literally flew out to New York and was my AD,
shout out to Pops.
and like I was like, that was like a family affair, and like
that's great.
Yeah, the office that I worked at as an event planner, I was like, can we use the office on a Sunday? And they were like, yeah, here are the keys. And I was like,
great.
Yeah, I
honestly that like I've been part of so many independent productions. That's kind of how it falls in place.
I am a master of hustling for
finessing.
The indie film, of finessing shit. I
call
worked
that
at
guerrilla filmmaking.
Yeah,
you know?
The guerrilla filmmaker.
Yeah.
Although I'm not gonna lie, Promised Land spoiled me, because I got there and I was like, I don't have to do anything but act.
Yeah.
I get a trailer.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I get to just sit here while other people worry about things. I might get used to this.
It's the best gig. You know.
Yeah.
If you could stay there.
If you can stay there
for the longest.
No one's leaving.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving this trailer.
Yeah.
But then I did the ABC showcase, so that was
beautiful.
That was such a shock, honestly. Like I wasn't.
Interesting. And now you're in okay.
Yeah.
So was that a direct correlation from it?
You know, I'm not sure.
I know. I feel like about the same thing. I did a
don't
couple
know.
showcases, and I'm like, did anybody? There was people there.
Well, so the ABC showcase, definitely. I got the agent that I'm with now. I got through the showcase, and I've been with her ever since. I was in 2015, and then after that, like I booked a couple other like guest star roles and some like supporting roles in feature films and more like shorts, and again a lot of stuff that like I was producing and I was kind of in.
Yeah.
And then,
which is great. That's really what you like. That's kind of how this was born. Like in the time in between, we have to create, right? And it's a muscle.
Yeah.
And if you're just sitting around waiting for your hand to be picked, and you don't have other things that's distracting you, that's when you run into like the questionable nights when you're staring at the ceiling, like, what the fuck am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
Like I'm just literally waiting by the phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know. So like creating, good for you for doing that. I mean, I guess your journey kind of created itself that way, you know, but
a little, it's kind of like bopped in a lot of different directions. I got kind of,
it's proactive is what I'm saying.
Proactive. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's, reps love that too. You know, people want to get repped, and then they're like, my life's going to change. And it's like, no,
it's just more
you're going to
work.
get some audition. Yeah. You know, it's the same thing. People are like, I wish I auditioned. I'm like, you think you do. right? I have my voice, print, commercial, theatrical, so it's a bunch of different people. And I'm like, sometimes when it rains, it pours and you got 15 auditions in a week or something crazy, you're like, okay, I'm fucking drowning.
And they're all 12 pages long.
Yep. And we need it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like always what it is.
5 minutes ago. Yeah.
They're like, well, could you send it the link? And I'm like, dude, I just got it. This is 16 pages. I'm a master at it. Humans are adaptable, so we learn it quick.
Oh, yeah. That auditioning is its own muscle.
100%.
That's its own muscle. Yeah.
How do you feel about self-tapes? Do you prefer them or do you?
I've gotten so used to them at this point. Like,
Do you like going in the room better, or do you prefer to do a self-tape?
I don't remember.
Yeah. It's kind of what it feels like.
I don't remember. I think I like going in the room.
I prefer it.
I think I do. I think it depends on the casting office, too. Like there's some casting directors that I love, and I'm just like, yes, I get to go visit them. And they're the kind of people that you just know they're going to give you what you need to like do the right performance.
The people pleaser in me, though, I'm always like, I'm going to win them over this time, Like, I don't know. I love, like, you get not one chance, because you can ask for, that's the thing too, like you can ask for a second thing. Can we do that again? But when you can self-tape, you're like, oh, my shirt, oh, this and all that. Like, you think about stupid shit that, after the fact. I'm pretty good at letting it go, but what I'm trying to get at is, like, take it away from me. I just want to go in there, do what I do. It doesn't have to be perfect. They need to see this much of the character. And if they see you in it, they're like, cool. They're perfect. Bring them in,
Yeah. What I like about the going in person is that you get to kind of, you're not in your own space, and so you get to just kind of go and play pretend elsewhere, not in your own house. Use the energy.
That's kind of why I use this space a lot, because it's like, it feels like you're going to work and you're like, cool, I'm going to get in, do my thing, and I'm going to get out. As opposed to, I lived in a studio for a long time, and at that studio, I used to shoot this, and I was just like, because I was just trying to hunker down and work, but it fucks with you. It doesn't let you sleep, because your mind is like in that room is where I work. So when I'm trying to go to sleep, my mind is still on work mode, and it's like,
you gotta have separate spaces. Like,
it's super important. But where did we leave off? What were we saying? And then you said you were booking stuff, and then
I was like booking stuff, but I also wasn't booking the stuff that I wanted to be booking, like, to be honest, and that's why I was like, maybe I gotta write more things, and I gotta produce more things, and there were like several things that I came close to and I didn't get, and then
I'm the king of that shit right now. I'm like,
that was
I'm like, your pin,
yep.
And I'm like, all right. Enough with the pins.
And the tests.
Test. Yeah.
Testing is the worst thing in the entire world. And it got to the point where my manager knew to not call me to tell me that I hadn't booked it, because I literally, I think I tested like back to back and had several director sessions for movies. Like, it was something like 4 or 5 projects, like within the span of 5 weeks, that I did not get.
Yep.
And by the last one, it was a show that I just really wanted it. It was so.
That's why you didn't get it, though. You know what I mean?
I know. If I hadn't wanted it this bad, I would have gotten it. If I had been like.
It's the craziest thing it sounds like.
Yeah.
But it's like the ones you don't give a fuck about.
They're like, call back. And you're like, oh, damn it. Yeah.
When you're like,
literally,
I hope I don't get booked on this because I got to do this. Then you book it.
Then they're like, please, we really want you.
And you're like, oh, great. Trying to figure out how to manipulate that, it's really tricky.
Yeah,
you
gotta have to mind manipulate the system in a way that I haven't figured that one out yet.
Same,
But
you get lucky sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a frustrating process. It'll really crush your spirit, you know what I mean? My old teacher used to say, like, she was talking about how it really taps into your primal needs, right? Because it's like when you don't get a part, it taps into like being almost like socially pushed out of a circle, right? So it's like you're not accepted. You're pushed out of the tribe, and it taps into your primal sense, because if it's like, if this was, if we were still living in like indigenous times, right? If you were out by yourself and not with the village, you were most likely gonna die. So it's like, it does feel like a death when they're like, no, and you're like, oh, I'm fucking dying,
Well, and it's so frustrating, because also at that point, I feel like I've told people this before, and they're like, no, but that is awesome. You're testing. Like,
I know.
No, you're
that's not what you want to hear at that moment.
You're one of 2 people that are testing, and you're like,
I don't care.
I can't put that on a resume.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not going to pay my rent. Like,
Yeah,
the amount
yeah.
of hours
Yeah,
I have spent
yeah.
preparing for this role, preparing for the other roles,
Yeah.
and also doing my 4 jobs that I
Yeah.
also have to do because this isn't paying the rent. Like,
Yeah.
and then to be
And
told,
trying to
like,
stay sane.
and I'm trying to stay
Smile.
sane and
Hi.
smile and look
Yeah,
good and not
yeah.
break out,
Yeah.
you know, because of stress. And then it's like,
Yeah.
and then there's nothing like the the reason is never
There's
something you
nothing.
can do.
Yeah.
You can't.
They went
Get
another way.
better. They wanted a blonde.
Yeah.
They wanted just
It's always some
something
bullshit.
different. And it does literally come down to that. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, we've cast the parent and this actress looks more like the parent
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something like that, where it's
Yeah.
not something that you can, like, I love action. Like, if you
Yeah.
give me a note, like, I like being able to fix it
Yeah.
and I like being able to work on it.
Yeah.
And when it gets to that point, there's really not much to work on.
Well, I think that's like the whole thing, right? It's like when it's cheesy, it sounds like you are enough. You for real are, and and it's like I think the key is getting to a place where people understand your essence much more, and I guess getting a proper foothold in the industry where they call you in for things that are just. It just makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
After a while, they kind of get you. They're like, oh yeah, they're perfect for this. They're perfect
Yeah.
for this. They're perfect for this. As opposed to trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, and it's like, I mean, they do it good, but
yeah.
it's the same thing with me. I hated like doing like cholo auditions, right? 'Cause I'm like, I can fake it. Like I grew up around cholos and all this shit, but I'm like, but that guy with the face tattoo waiting next to me to go
He's
in
gonna
next,
book it.
he's a real cholo, and
Yeah.
I think he killed somebody.
Yeah.
So
There's some life experience.
yeah,
behind that
yeah,
guy
he's gonna
that-
draw from some things. We're gonna be really close, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what was it like booking Promised Land for you? Because you booked the pilot, right? So the
yeah.
pilot,
It was. I mean, like when we were setting up, like I was kind of telling you, so at the same kind of
Did you come out here before we get into that? Did you come out here for pilot seat, or you shot it out? You booked it out there in New York?
No, well, I had my first audition in New York.
Okay.
I literally, so I was gonna move out of my apartment. My boyfriend was going to London for 9 months, and I was gonna come here just to kind of. I'd been working at a production company before the pandemic, and then during the pandemic, and it was just not. I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
It wasn't like filling my soul in the same way. I was like super frustrated. Had started auditioning again and like not gotten anything. And I was just going to come out here to like hang out with some friends and like recharge.
Nice. Yeah.
And I literally like I got this audition, and if you had like flipped the camera around, you would have just seen like boxes and my camera. Like I'd packed my iPod.
Again, it's like an energetic thing.
Stand already,
it's so
my-
crazy. Like you're clearing out space, you're moving, you're making bold
yeah.
decisions.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
I did I had a self-tape and then a Zoom callback. And then I came out here and I tested. But it was, I like tested, but I didn't do anything for the test. They just showed my tape to the network.
Nice.
And then I booked it.
Nice.
Like it was very, like I was not.
Yeah.
And it was, again, like it was a role that I read the script and I really liked the script.
The script was fantastic. It was
yeah.
one of the dopest scripts in town.
Yeah, I thought when I read it, I was like, this is a great script.
Like a Latino
whoever-
family. It's affluent. Like, it's got drama. It's got all this stuff. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah,
This is great. This is a great look.
But I also was like, well, I auditioned for a different role first.
Oh.
I auditioned for Carmen.
Oh, interesting.
And it was
I see that.
Well,
I definitely see that.
But I also
You two are very similar looking too.
people always think that we're sisters, and people on set would like get us confused.
Yeah, you have very similar eyes, you two.
Yeah. No, Mariel's great. But I remember when I got the audition, it was one of those that I was like, this is gonna go to someone who's really gonna be able to have fun with this role in a way that I can put this on, but I don't think
same thing, right?
I don't
Square
think
peg,
it's
round hole, where
this
you're
isn't
like, I can
gonna
do
be
this,
me.
But
but then they called me in for Juana, and
Yeah.
that's the one I ended up booking.
beautiful. Yeah. I mean, for me, it was I think I just self-taped. Same thing. I literally like. I don't even know. I think I shot it by myself. Right? I don't even remember. I was like, whatever, and I sent it.
You were great, dude.
Yeah,
That-
it was fun, right?
You were scary. You were so freaking-
I
We had
looked
so
so
much
different.
fun.
Yeah.
Dude, by the end of the night, I was like, that guy's never gonna invite me to his podcast. He thinks I'm way too loopy.
No. I'm loopy as hell too. I get it. I was thinking about it because I remember there was a lot of things happening. Manuel is great. Manuel Risa. Yeah.
He's fantastic.
And him and I kind of had like a little pal on the side. So to give a little, I think I talked about it before, where it's like the sides that they had provided us, and I get it, it's ABC, and they're trying to like, hit a general market. And they were just like, I was just, I had a lot to think about where I was like, my sides were like in English and Spanish or in Spanglish. And I remember we all talked about this where it was just like, I was like, wait a second, why the fuck am I speaking English in this scene with other people? We're all from Mexico. Like so I was like, and English, I mean, I'm fluent in Spanish. So I'm like, I'm just going to speak this Spanish and I'm not going to say anything about anything. I'm not going to do an accent. My accent comes out terrible. So maybe just my own critic in my head. But we started doing it and we just did it in Spanish and it just felt so much more authentic.
Yeah.
It actually felt like a darker tone almost to the show in contrast, which I kind of liked because the show is kind of like, how do I describe it? It's dramatic in its way, the way it's shot. It's very like, how do I say, almost like soap opera style. In like the glamour, right?
In the like modern story.
Exactly. And it switches back and forth, right? So when you switch back to like the past, you're like, holy shit, this is kind of dark.
Yeah.
You know? So I had a great time doing that.
Well, that was one of the things that I was really, really impressed that, and like hats off ultimately to ABC and to more than anything, Matt Lopez, the showrunner, for really pushing for this. But especially like Andres, who plays.
I talked to him too, the showrunner, and we were just like talking about the difficulties. Yeah. He's like, dude, just getting this here has been a goddamn miracle, dude.
No, but we would like what you're saying of like getting the script and being like, why is this all in English? Yeah. We would get that every single day of like, I get that you're trying to pepper in more English, but these are characters who literally just. They're learning English right now, and that they would never like there's
decisions that are totally not up to us and stuff. But sometimes I just felt like in that there was an opportunity to do that just in my particular storyline. You know what I mean? Because I can be like, because I was like, even if you guys speak English throughout the that particular scene can only be. You know what I'm saying? Like
I totally agree. And for people like us who are bilingual, It's a weird thing. I don't know if you feel this, but like my boyfriend he's from Mexico. He speaks perfect Spanish and perfect English. I never talk to him in English, even though I know he speaks English, but it feels weird. The same with my dad. I know that my dad speaks English, but if he addresses me in English, it's off. Like if someone speaks Spanish and that's their native language and it's yours. That's how you speak. You're not trying to speak English.
I do it with waiters, with people, anybody I talk to. I'm like, oh, just speak to me in Spanish.
And it's not because you're trying to like.
No, it's just we connect better.
You. It's just instinctual too. There's like the subtleties that aren't the language that like it just comes out. So that was a lot of the kind of back and forth that we had with these characters of like. Certain things be in Spanish.
For me, I was like, I gotta make this authentic for me and like what feels right. And it was just for me, I don't know. I was like, let's have some fucking fun with this because it was like a cool little.
And we did.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. And Manuel, he was I guess he was just in the show too, but he what is it called? What is their job called? A dialect coach?
Well, he was hired as our dialect coach, but really that man was like dialect coach, cultural advisor, translator, like everything.
Yeah, he was on Gentefied too. He killed it on Gentefied. But he's an actor and he was on Narcos too. So him coming up and being like, yo, like this is it. I was like, okay, great. I'm not going because I was like, I'm just making some bold moves here.
Yeah. No.
That's kind of what I've been doing a lot, and I'm like, this is gonna keep getting me fired. It hasn't gotten me fired, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like they're not gonna call me back because I always feel when I'm like, but I feel like in a lot of, I don't know, it worked.
It totally worked. That whole sequence in that episode would not have worked in the same way if it had been in English. It just wouldn't have.
I think that's exactly what I was. Just being in the wardrobe too, because they changed me different too. Like
you had tattoos.
Yeah. Tattoos on my neck, I had my arms, and my hair was different, and like, we're in some like dingy, crazy house. I don't even know where we were at.
We were in Simi Valley.
Simi Valley. That's right. Right. Yeah. Way out. There's no service on your phones.
Yeah. Creepy as all heck.
Yeah. It was fun though,
So, it was so fun.
And for you, it's just kind of been like, I remember my first like series regular experiences. Like, boom, the ride up is like, whoa, like, hey, you're on the show. This and that. There's billboards everywhere. There's all this stuff. You're like, oh my god, this is kind of huge, huh? Like,
Yeah, it's been. it's so weird coming from like the indie film world where, you know, like my mom watches my movies and, you know, like, my cousins sometimes do.
Yeah.
And like the random person that DMs you on Instagram.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden
that's
to be
so
on
funny. That's so relatable. Some one person will be like, dude, I saw your work on this such and such thing.
Yeah, and you're like, wait, that got
wow.
distribution?
Yeah.
You know?
People saw that? You know, but those actually mean the most to me. You know, because they're like very deliberate and very intentional to be like, hey, man, that shook my core. And you're like, oh, damn. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
oh, thank you. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, but to go from that to all of a sudden be on a show that you're like, oh, wait, no, people are watching this.
Yeah,
and like this is, and also
it's a big network.
Yeah, and I think what's been most impactful for me is just like the stories, especially I think with people who live in the country who are either children of immigrants or immigrants themselves who have related to it.
Absolutely.
Like for them to be seen in the characters that we're playing, like
that visibility is everything.
Oh, dude,
you know?
like I guess you never met her because you didn't work on the same day, but Ariela, who plays young Marta, who's just such a beautiful actress, she was she and I were like crying in one of the past fans one day because she was telling me how her mom like started telling her stories about her journey to the United States just because she saw the show and like you know,
absolutely.
I don't know.
And that's literally why you're doing it, right? It's like everybody wants to feel seen and feel like they matter in the world. And even if that's why I didn't mind, like, even if they water down some of the things and you speak English and it's like, okay, we're going in the right, I'm not trying to sound like I'm complaining. I was just, you know, but I'm like, we're going in the right direction if it's like, because that's what it's about, where it's like stories about everything is interesting. Everything, if you look close enough, is super interesting. You know what I mean? From the janitor who works in the building to like the homeless person in the street, they're super interesting. So, you know,
I think too with the Spanish, one more thing is that like I know that it seemed like a huge risk, but I think in the United States, like it's not,
and it's subtitles too. Like,
not only the amount of the population that actually speaks Spanish, but I don't think even if you don't speak Spanish,
you understand.
You're around Spanish so much, especially in like in LA and in like I'm sure like border towns in Texas and stuff.
San Diego,
you hear it so much.
New York, right?
Yeah, and the parts that are in Spanish, like you could watch those without subtitles and still understand pretty much what's going on. Like it's a coming of age story, and there's a bunch of kids that are just like trying to find a place for themselves.
Yeah, and they end up really finding.
And they end up really.
Boy, did they find it!
Oh yeah, they struck gold. No spoilers, but
yeah. I mean, the whole thing's out, right?
Oh yeah, it's all out.
Yeah, it's all out on Hulu.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, congrats. It's a beautiful feeling, right?
Thanks. Yeah. No, I'm proud of the show. I'm
absolutely.
Like, it was a huge learning experience, but I like the whole cast. We got so close.
That's another thing too. Like, yeah, the cast. You always grow super close with the people you take the journey with, and then on top of that, but like, just people don't see the behind the scenes, the stages, the buildings, like the it was two different sets at the same time happening.
Yeah. Oh,
you know, because I shot on both of them.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
So I shot on the one in Valencia.
Yeah.
And it's a massive warehouse where they're building rooms and the houses and all that stuff, and you know, all the honey wagons are in the back, and then they have another one in Simi Valley where same thing, right?
Yeah.
So it was a big department. You're talking about two simultaneous makeup, two simultaneous hair, two simultaneous wardrobe, you know, directors, you know.
Yeah, a different director every episode.
Yeah, like, exactly. You know. So it really is. They say like the best school is, you know, being on set.
Oh, I've learned more in the last 9 months than I think I've learned in the last 10 years.
Yeah,
like,
it's wild.
It's like,
but that's the muscle too. Now it really adds another level of confidence to your layer. You're like, bitch, come at me. Try to pin me one more time. Yeah. I swear to God, if you try to pin me, you know.
Oh no, none of that shit.
I mean, they're all compliments, really, but. At the end of the day, because they're a fan of your work,
yeah.
but it does kind of drive you nuts. We're almost an hour in. I wanted
Already?
to, yeah. Actually, we're like 20 minutes out. We're like 40 minutes in. We're not crazy. I want.
I can talk for hours.
No, like, same.
So you gotta reel me in.
Yeah, I just always like to like kind of, how do I explain it? Like, if you were to like. You don't even necessarily have to encompass it this way. Like if you were to encompass your journey and you were to speak to maybe your younger self, or maybe a version of yourself, or an extension of yourself, what would be the thing that you at this point in time would have your message be, for the you of 10 years ago, or the you of 10 years from now, or what, vice versa, or somebody, you know what I'm saying? Like, what would the theme of Katia right now be?
I think be here now. That's something I'm just grinning because it's something that my mom always says. But I always used to be like, oh, yeah, sure, mom, okay, but no, I gotta go over there, and
we're actually going over there. So
yeah, and like really fast, like not now. But I think I did always have this, like, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Like I said, when we were living in Spain, I was like, I gotta get to the United States so that I can be on TV. And then I was in San Diego, I was like, I gotta be in LA because I gotta be in. And
now you're on TV, so.
And now I'm on TV.
Where do you gotta be?
Well, I gotta be on a movie set. I'm unemployed, dude. I gotta get on another thing.
Yeah. Which you booked some other couple things, right?
I did a movie right after the show.
Nice.
Which was, it was fun. It was like Whiplash, though. I like wrapped on a Tuesday and started shooting on a Wednesday.
Beautiful.
So it was.
Yeah. But be here now, yeah.
Yeah, and more than anything, I think because, at least for me, and especially when I was younger and like I just moved to New York and I was hungry. Like, I really, really wanted it. But I think I also was, like, pushing myself so much that I wasn't, like, pushing myself to be this, like, image that I had. Or, like, to, like, I had to book, like, this role by the time I was 20.
Yeah, same.
And then 20 comes and it's like, oh, I'm a failure because I didn't book the series regular that I told myself and that I was visualizing. And I was, like, and then maybe you're not learning as much because you're not actually present.
You're getting hardened.
And you're just getting, like, down on yourself, and you're not actually, like, taking anything in or absorbing anything because you're so frustrated.
Which are the things that are probably inevitably going to get you there,
Yeah. So I think that just, like, being really aware of where you are and, like, not losing track of where you're going, but, like, being right here and like what's going on right here, right now that I need to adjust or that I need to keep or that I just need to be grateful for, that's going to help me get to where I'm going.
Absolutely.
And not putting a timestamp on things because
I'm guilty of that all the time.
Oh, yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
But I think especially not, like, I have, like, some of my cousins who are, like, teens, early 20s now, like, I feel like all the content, especially with, social media, and like everyone's always talking about, like, it's quick. And, like, if you haven't, like, built your own company and become an Instagram and a TikTok star by the time you're 17, you're a failure. Like, you haven't even started college
and
yet.
The crazy thing is that they all want to do the same thing.
But it's also like, dude, if you've done all of that by the time you're 18, what are you doing after? Like, what are your 20s gonna be like?
It's not a sustainable thing.
No, and it's I don't know. I think there's so much, like, pressure in society of, like, the ingenue, right? Like, the young, successful story, the 30 under 30. And it's like, don't get me wrong, it's amazing when people accomplish things at a young age, but, like,
it's usually not what it is,
my parents just changed careers in their 50s.
Oh, beautiful.
And like
that's
you
great.
know, there's certain actors who, like, didn't even get their first lead role, and they're until they were in their 30s, and now they're 50s. Oscar. They've, like,
Morgan Freeman was, like, in his 50s when he got his first, like, big role.
It's, like, insane.
Yeah.
But those are the stories that we're like, oh, that's great. But I'm gonna look over here at the 17-year-old who's, like, taking on my roles, and I'm,
It's the mind. Like, the mind works that way. I think, like, for me, what I hear when you say that is, like, there's, like, it's the need is in the mind. It's not in, like, in the actual happening, right? Like you said, I got to be in LA. It's like the mind is always going to seek for something to need. It's never going to be like, cool, we're here.
Yeah.
Chill. It's in the mind. So it's never going to be enough. It's never going to be the end. And it's like finding a way to, like, clamor down or quiet down that voice. Cause I don't know if it's necessarily, like, possible. Maybe it is to completely shut that voice down. But it's like, having a need, having a want or a something without necessarily having hard expectations that are never going to be, like, break your heart.
Yeah. But also, like, even if that part is, like, always active, kind of reframing it in that, like, there is always something to learn.
Yeah.
The journey's never finished.
Yeah.
There is more, but that's what's cool about it.
The journey itself can be the
Yeah.
thing, right? And that's what I mean. Like, if you focus instead of like, I need to be there, as opposed to I'm exactly where I need to be, which is like the hardest thing in the world. I'm super simplifying it.
Oh, yeah.
But like, once you're in the moment, you're like, I know, I actually, my Uber's late, you know,
Yeah.
especially New York, you know, New York's a fast paced, you know, place.
Ugh, I love it.
You
I
know?
love it, though. I miss it.
And I haven't really had a New York experience. I'm going to go do that one of these days.
Oh, you got to come.
Yeah.
You got to come.
My family was just out. My dad was out there vacationing, you know. He's like,
New York, when so I was actually dead set on going to LA for college because I was like, I want to act. I got to be in Hollywood. I got to do this. And then I
Not
went.
wrong.
No, not wrong. But I went to New York when I was like first applying to colleges when I was like 16, 17. And I was like, oh. Never mind. I take it back.
Really?
I take it back. Sorry, LA. I gotta be
It's the
here.
pace, or what is it?
There was just something about the city that it felt very like
Almost like
home
intoxicating.
to me. Yeah, I don't. I mean, and maybe like growing up in Europe, where like it's such a cosmopolitan like city vibe. You can walk everywhere. It's such a melting pot.
Yeah.
I love that it's not an industry city. Like
Yeah.
I love that. You sit down at a bar and like everyone surrounding you has nothing to do with film.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I like that it's.
It's
And everyone's
it kind of sucks that it's out here like
else.
that. Like when, you know, out here in LA, everyone is in film and yeah. And it's cool, but eventually you're like, all right, man, I just want to meet a structural engineer. I don't know, like
like my
architect.
best friends out there are like they're musicians, they're nurses, they're like architects,
which
like,
brings normalcy and flavor into your life and into your storytelling ultimately.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And it's I don't know. There's just something about it. It's such a melting pot of cultures and people from different places in life, and like it just I love it.
I'm gonna go just for the food.
Yeah.
Specifically for the
the
food.
food is fantastic. There's so much food.
We got great food out here, but I've already tried everything. You know?
gotta drive to it though.
Yeah, yeah. That sucks too. You know.
That's what I got really spoiled in a way with Promised Land, where like because I mean. This is gonna sound horrible, but I would have to get up at 3 a.m. to basically like be there by 4 or 5. That's when my call time usually was.
You want to be in showbiz, right?
Yeah.
That's usually what it's like.
Oh yeah.
You're there
but
4 or 5 a.m.
I would never hit traffic though.
Oh yeah,
so
that's the greatest
for 11
thing.
months I've been in LA and I've pretty much never hit traffic. And then the
for you.
last 2
and
weeks.
the pandemic.
Oh yeah, I was in New York during the pandemic.
But it was like this was what the whole show was shot 2021 mostly.
Yeah. We started last October.
Pandemic-ish.
Yeah.
You know.
But I've literally pretty much maybe I've been in traffic like 5 times during
You're
that
getting
year.
out at the right time because it's gonna be god awful.
Well now that we're wrapped, I like try to go out and do things. I'm like, why have I been sitting here for half an hour?
It's fucking
2 hours.
It's rough.
3. I'm like,
really,
I gotta get back to New York.
Yeah. Public transportation out there is just so much more efficient. They're expanding it here, but where can people follow you? What's your thing? At Katya.Martín? Is that what it is?
Yep.
I got
I'm
it.
Katya Martín on Instagram. I'm Katya _Martín on Twitter, which bear with me, I'm kind of figuring the Twitter thing out.
I don't really mess with any of them. I do Instagram
either.
mostly.
Yeah, me too.
TikTok's the new thing?
I'll eventually get a TikTok.
I don't
Actually,
know.
no, I have one, but it's you can follow it. There's no content on it currently.
We'll eventually get content on there.
Yes, but I think it's also Katya.Martín, I think.
I mean, you'll find it.
Yeah, it'll be there. Eventually there'll be content and you'll be surprised if you follow me, you know.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. This has been
thank
great.
you for having me.
Safe travels back to New York.
Thank you.
Check out Promised Land. It's on Hulu, right?
It's on Hulu. Yep,
Yeah.
10 episodes if you like it.
Yeah, check it out. You might see this familiar mug.
You will.
And you'll see that familiar mug. All right? And you'll have a good time. You'll have a good old story. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll be back next week. Thanks.